this is Jesus in Gym Shoes. Boy, this is
Welcome to
Jesus
another
in
episode
Gym
of Jesus and Gym
Shoes.
Shoes, where we have unparalleled conversations about life skills and Jesus. I have my good friend here with me, Nicole J. Johnson. I still have her. I still have the banner or the plugger in my window for,
Oh,
for when you ran for office. I probably will never take it out. But yeah, Nicole, introduce yourself, G.
yeah. My name is Nicole Johnson. I'm from the South Side. Grew up in Inglewood, CPS kid, and I'm just, in a word, I would describe myself as exceptional, and I am very blessed, very covered. I went to a yoga class this morning, and just reflecting on the year, I wrote a love letter to myself, and nevertheless is the word, is the operative word of the year. It's like all of that, and in spite of, I've been taken care of. So that's just how I live my life, because I know that despite anything, I'll be covered. And so I take on many risks, as you mentioned, like running for office. And so that's generally my disposition to life, is just trying to rake up and multiply all the talents God done gave me. And, so that he'll be proud.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up. What's your favorite pair of gym shoes?
I have them. I went to go pick them up. So there's these, for right now, there's some Converse, but these were custom made in Senegal. Okay. So this is actual, this is very, and I got a kente cloth pair as well. But my friend's mom gifted me these last week. And so
you snapped. You got the first international shoe I've had on Jesus and Gym Shoes.
Yeah, and I've been wearing, trying to find really cute gym shoes instead of wearing heels, post COVID and stuff. It's just what's more comfortable. And I'm trying to not completely phase out my heels, but trying to bring more parity to protect my feet and my back.
Yeah. I mean, it ain't nothing like seeing a woman in a pair of heels. Like, y'all legs be cracking. It'd be beautiful. It's a beautiful sight. When never mind, I ain't gonna go down that road. But so it's a beautiful sight. Is all I'll say. Talk about that love letter that you wrote to yourself. What prompted that?
Yeah. So today's the winter solstice, right? It's the first day of winter. It is the longest night. And then on the first day of summer, it's the longest day. So we'll have more on this day. We'll have more nighttime than sun time. And so as part of the preparation, that was the theme of the yoga class, was this bringing into the new season. And my love letter for myself was really just saying the quote that's been ringing in my head, or the scripture, is he makes me lie down in green pastures.
Yes.
And so that has been this whole year, is really just letting God lead me despite the cacophony of all these different noises. And God has shown his hand in so many ways, but then there'll be a lot of noise around that. And sometimes it can distract me, and it has distracted me and made me feel very hopeless. And so the letter was a affirmation of, again, nevertheless, all that, I still held on to my faith, even if it was it could be this big or it could be this small, my faith and holding on to that hope. So it's really just congratulating myself and affirming myself to continue to do that, and reassuring myself that I'm on time. I feel sometimes that I'm too late for this, or I want myself to hurry up and I want this thing to go. And it's no, just be here, be settled in this moment. So just a culmination of a lot of the reflections that I've been having over the past year of just settling, and God's grace and the blessings that are around me, and reflecting on Nicole that couldn't do that years ago. And so just bringing it all full circle and affirming, like, now let's move forward in this new understanding that, you're going to be good.
Understood. So, in new understanding, so we had a conversation sometime after, and I kind of mentioned it early on about you running for office. We had a conversation about you running for office, or after you subsequently lost, right? So two things we're going to do. We're going to talk about, that time on the trail, and, up until winning, or getting the, getting to the runoff election, and then all that stuff, right? But we had a conversation about a new understanding of who you were once that time came to a close. So we're going to talk about that, but I want to first talk about, because I don't want to leave that out there. But what made you run for office, and what office was it that you ran for?
Yeah, I ran for alderman in the 20th ward on which is on the south side of Chicago. It includes Inglewood, Washington Park, Woodline, back of the yards, and it's very gerrymandered, and it's and New City is in there as well. And so I ran in the municipal elections, and I ran because, we, in my ward where you live now, I moved out the ward, but we had years of representation in city council that just really screwed us over. And at the time, the alderman at the time was the third consecutive one to be indicted and then ultimately convicted. And it's just sad. The other part is me having this affinity towards public service. My dad will tell you, since I was 7, I said I wanted to run for president. I was going to be president. And so all these things led up to me being involved in politics. I've interned in DC several times, worked on the Hill and things like that. And I just had this calling in my heart to be big and serve in that way, because it was a position that can influence the everyday lives of everyday people in my hood. And so I wanted to represent them. And so I had the audacity to believe that I could, and did really well, despite it. And I'm actually working on my book right now. And this is the topic. This is the story that I'm working on right now. And I'm very thankful. And the topic is like the nose to the new self, for the new self. Yeah. It's a working title of that section, but essentially it's like, that doesn't fit me anymore. Yeah. Who I wanted to be, who I was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and also, like, we're in a pandemic. Like, I would have been having to lead during this time, and who knows where I would have been mentally, emotionally, and physically to manage that. And
so yeah, before you get too far though, right?
Yeah.
So during that time of you being there, what was that emotional state like? Being on the campaign trail. So like a lot of people all they see is, the ins and outs of big time politicians. A lot of people don't know the ins and outs of the more general electorate, or the smaller electorate, right? What was that process like?
It's very hard. And if you're someone who's like constantly on the go, you never even get the opportunity to stop and celebrate, because there was always a fire being put out. Like, I was doing really well on the outside looking in. I was doing really well, and the campaign was gaining momentum. I was raising money. I was gaining support. People had my signs in the window, in their doorway, in their lawns, and stuff like that. They were sharing my media and things like that on social. and it was really good in that endeavor. However, internally and emotionally, I just took so much mess. And you text me like once I made it to the runoff, you got a survey, a text survey, and every time you click my name, it was like, did you know Nicole did this? Nicole did that. And it was just like this constant barrage, an attack on my character. And
it was crazy.
yeah, and you have to put on so much armor to like, nose to ground and just like keep your head down and keep moving. So when you're constantly doing this, you can't look up and be like, oh wow, like, I wasn't even like super proud and excited when I got Chance's endorsement, which really helped me a lot, and it really elevated my profile in a way. But I was just like, okay, next.
And that's Chance the Rapper, right?
Yeah. So
because he got a city doing front flips. That's just a phrase he used. Okay.
Yeah, and so it was really tough. It was really tough, and it really came down to and this is what I'm writing about right now, like the Sunday before April 2nd, so March 30th, 2019, and my mom, we were Sunday morning, because one thing about me is no one's gonna outwork me. Mm-hmm. And so you get up with me at 8 a.m., 9 a.m., hit them doors with me. Yeah. So you know what it was. And that was what I was doing every day, 6 a.m. at the trains, 9 a.m. on Saturdays. And it was Sunday morning, and my mom was taking me to this Catholic church in back of the yards, and I had my Spanish literature in my hand, and she asked me, she was like, do you want this? And then I could not tell her a straight answer because I had just been so exhausted. And I said, if this is any indication of what next 4 years at the very least is going to be like I don't want this. And I had to ask myself a question. I'm like, because at that point I had gotten so much opposition from people because I'm a woman, I'm young, I'm inexperienced, and I put air quotes on that. And I'm not with a big union, or I'm not with a big machine, very spirit-led and individual-led. And it was people that was naysayers. And so early on, it was definitely that ego that was pushing me to be like, no, I'm going to show them who Nicole is. But then after a while, I had to ask myself, like, you really about to do this for other people? And that's when the answer was like, nah, like, this is it. And it was in that moment that the energy shifted. And all up to that point, I thought I was going to win. But that Sunday before, I was like, no, this not in my favor. I know it's not going to turn out. And that's how it eventually ended up. Because I had to, in myself, be like, is this what you want? And I had to say no. And there we have it.
So how do you get to that point, right? Because I think a lot of people do things and they are kind of just stuck, right? They're stuck in the decision that they made, and they just, whether it's a relationship, whether it is a job, whether it is, it could be any myriad of things. It could be buying a house. They're just like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And then, how did you come to grips with that not being what you saw for yourself anymore?
I have a strong relationship with myself. And that's where it starts. It's like me and one of my girlfriends, we talk about our own personal journey and our mental wellness and how we create boundaries that determine how we engage with other people. And it always comes down to, is this showing me love? Am I betraying myself? And if it puts me in this position where I am not happy at all, I am truly overwhelmed, I'm not happy, I'm sad, I'm crying all the time, my emotions are erratic, it puts me in a very deficit mind space. None of that nurtures my spirit, none of that nurtures my energy. And so I had to answer that question and say, is this how you want to live your life? And, the answer is no. When I saw what it was doing to me, I was just like, nah. I can't do that to myself. And you just kind of got to bow out, because then the other part of it is, if you do go along with that, knowing you shouldn't, and that's when that intuition and also the spirit will tap you on the shoulder and say, look around. You know, you mentioned those situations, relationships, friendships, jobs, and all the other stuff. In every one of those instances, people, you get that tingling in you, that tug at you that says, that asks you, this is a way out. But it's either choosing self or choosing ego, or letting ego lead. And I couldn't let my ego lead anymore. I had to say, have a seat. And I had to go with myself, my higher self, my best self.
Okay. But did you at any point feel like a failure at all, or feel like you were quitting?
No.
Okay.
Because it was,
You had already given a resolve.
it was amazing. I lost an election, but I won so much, and I did so well. Like the incumbent right now, she'll tell you, she told me, she was like, you had your stuff together and you had us going. I made big union bosses sweat. Like I had seasoned politicos, like for real, So what I did, and they so happy I moved out the ward. They are so happy. So I don't feel like, that it was a failure or anything of the sort. But I did recently, and I'm still like dealing with that. And now I do acknowledge it as a loss. And so I give space to that, right? That I did lose. I did lose.
What was that journey after the loss, though?
It was horrible.
You talked about putting on armor, right? So you had to take all of that off. What was that process like of taking that armor off?
It was horrible. I mean, the first part was just getting all of this to slow down. And so I suffer from bruxism, which is why I have these braces to correct my bite. But I've had custom made mouth guards that you're not supposed to chew through. And I chewed through them during the campaign. And so it was getting all this in line. And like, I never forget, maybe like within a week after the campaign, my body just slowing down, my face slowing down instead of being tight. And just the searing pain that I experienced, it was just like these migraines. It was literally like razor blades just like cutting across my face. And I couldn't sit in a tub for more than 2 minutes because I was just so used to this. And then just having to sit with myself. So I had to learn how to be still, and I'm still learning, but I'm much better. Like I can sit in the tub for 20 minutes now. But then even like a year later, I realized, because I had never really talked about it and talked it out, and really acknowledged like what I had went through was very painful. Like people saying all types of stuff about me on Twitter and all these things, and you get to in the mail pieces,
Yeah, I was ready to fight a couple of times because I was like, "What are you doing?"
Like the mail. I probably still have it, but it's one mail piece. Like she hasn't had a job for more than 2 years. It's like, I'm 29 and I have 2 masters. Of course, the math don't add up. Of course, I don't have a job that long. So the unraveling process was very intense. Like I went to acupuncture once a week. The first 2 months after, I was just down. I didn't work, and that was hard too, because I was like, I have to work. But God was like, no, just sit. And I was taken care of, but I'm thinking I have to do it on my own. And so that whole process, because I was really pulling on myself, and that whole process afterwards, the recovery has been God showing me like, it's not up to you. Surrender and let me take care of it.
What scripture did you use to kind of hold yourself over during that time?
Isaiah 43:19. I have been circling. I have been circling this scripture for years, and it's about Isaiah 43:19 is I am doing a new thing.
Yeah.
Watch it spring up. Do you not perceive it? But Isaiah 58, starting at 6. And so the real one is if you skip down to 9, if you do away with the yoke of oppression, with the pointing finger and malicious talk, and if you spend yourself in behalf of the hungry and satisfy the needs of the oppressed, then your light will rise in the darkness, and your night will become like noonday. And then skipping down to verse 12, your people will rebuild the ancient ruins and will raise up in the age-old foundations. You will be called repairer of broken walls, restorer of streets and dwellings. And that's really what I would circle around to, affirm my steps and know that there was a greater vision, because I felt so committed to community and the work that I was doing. And I knew that God was going to carry me, and that this would not be done in vain.
So you talk about the mental piece, and then like even getting your body to slow down. I think that a lot of people kind of miss the fact that our body is a machine, and it, like, once it gets used to doing something, it wants to continuously do that. So it's interesting to hear you say that you had to recreate. I mean, you had to just recreate a normal. You had to recreate a normal for yourself.
And I'm doing that now, because I was telling one of my girls last week, I was reflecting on the past 5 years. I was started after undergrad. I started teaching, and I did that for a little bit. And I said, I want to do something more. And I was having some challenges, and I thought I could do more. I went to school, and then I came home and thought I was going to have a certain type of job in education, and I didn't. And then that's kind of when I fell into politics. And then I was like, okay, I'm run. And then that happened. And then just moving forward. And now last week I was like, you always running from something, for something. And you going to one thing to the next, and you're looking for something. And in the past 5 years, you haven't found it. And so that's also part of the conversation. Your relationship with yourself is honesty. And I had to myself, it's like, so at what point, to what end will you continue to do this and keep running and searching for something that is out of yourself? If you haven't found it in the past 5 years, and all that you've done, and you've done a lot in the past 5 years, then you think you're gonna find it going to one thing to one thing to one thing. And then that's when he makes me lie down, and green pastures started coming to me, and I was like, just settle. And then this concept of just settling in where I'm at. We think of settling as like settling for less, but it's like, no, it's settling in God's arms. It's settling in God's provision. It's settling in what is, and acknowledging the joy that is around me already.
Yeah. I was telling somebody, well, I practice mindfulness. So like I go to therapy pretty often. And one of the things that I had to do is, because I run also, right? I'm always trying to accomplish something else, or always trying to do something else. I have to sit still and, realize what I have in front of me, because sometimes I will dwell on the past, which isn't a terrible thing, but sometimes it can be really, really bad. Because you don't necessarily see what's in front of you. But mindfulness, it was like walking my dog without my headphones, right? It's just a practical way of practicing mindfulness, where I am able to just be present in the moment, and my brain just isn't racing a mile and a half at a time. And I think that it's good because you're able to actually be aware of what's happening. You're able to be aware and be in tune with yourself to say, okay, self, you're a little out of control. You know, you spend too much money on this thing, or you were eating out and not like cooking the way you supposed. Yeah, cooking, or like you haven't worked out as hard as you should have, or as much as you should have, or you know, the house isn't clean the way you should clean it. Like what's underneath all of that stuff? Like what is it that you're actually feeling? And so yeah, mindfulness allows me to be in that space of actually saying, you know what? Oh, I haven't communed with God as much as I should have, you know? Like
Mhm.
that's the thing that I'm missing. Like, oh, prayer is missing. Like I'm
Mhm.
doing all this stuff, I'm talking to all of these people, or I'm not talking to anybody, and I need like conversations with people. And so yeah, mindfulness allows me to be in that moment. But so back to taking off the armor. Like
Mhm.
what at what point did you realize that you had armor up? Was there a particular situation, or was there um you trying to connect and not being able to? Like what was that armor? What was it like taking that armor down?
Yeah, I remember I had it on. I still had it on last summer when I was dating this new person. And it was such a beautiful space, and we we had some really great experiences, and it was a very intimate space that we were sharing, and a lot of my recollections from the campaign were fizzing up, and I was sharing them with them. And I was like, man, I still have this on me, because they noticed when I was telling it, I would start fidgeting, and then as I kept going, I started like pacing, and it
Mhm.
started riling me up. And they were like, "You okay?" And I was just like, I noticed myself. So, like you said, being mindful, I paid attention to what I was doing when I was talking about this thing, and this place of hurt. And I realized I had that. And also the relationship I was in was very, it made me take off a lot of layers that I had put on to ignore some things about
Mhm.
myself. And um so already actively excavating deep and within, and that was the environment that allowed me to see all that was happening. And so from there it's been this uncovering of things, between like, you know, I'm a very independent person. No one ever worries about Nicole. I grew up in a way I presented myself, especially to family, as having it all together. Because I knew that there wasn't much there, like, going to school, going to a really expensive college, and coming from a single family home, and knowing that you don't have enough. So I just took it upon myself to find, oh, I'll find the money, oh, I'll do this, and always taken care of. But then you get to a point where there are things that you can't take care of. And I'll never forget, it was during my campaign, actually. My grandmother said, I was going to give $1,000 to the campaign. I said, well, Grandma, can you give me 500 and give the campaign 500? And then she was like, okay, because I wasn't working. And my unemployment had ran out as well, because I got let go from my job the previous March. And my grandmother told my mom was like, I didn't know you were broke. I was like, I haven't been working since August, and my unemployment ran out, and you knew that. Like, what did you think I was doing? She's like, well, I thought you had savings. I was like, why would you assume that? And I remember my therapist, when I went back to therapy after the campaign, I got insurance again. She said, I said, no one checked on me. She was like, well, did you ask them to? I was like, they should have known I lost the campaign. And she was like, you got to tell people. And
Yeah.
it was in that moment, I was like, okay, so I have to use my words. I have to tell people. And so now, and that was August 2019.
19.
Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
since then, I have been using my words and saying, I need this, and also accepting those things as well. So the excavation process and the unlayering and taking those things off and being soft, it allows me to feel, it allows me to receive, it allows me to respond in kind to other people's emotions, and allows me when they unravel in front of me. And it allows
That's an awkward process.
Huh?
That's an awkward process. Like having other people unravel, and it's just like, especially if I most definitely have that situation of having to take off the layers, but seeing other people and their emotions, it's like, why do you feel this way? Like, what is this? And you having to like hold it, and it's just like, this is odd. This is
odd. And it is tough, but because my partner does it for me, I do it for them, and it's a lesson for me too, because my awkwardness is a reflection of my own discomfort with my own stuff.
Absolutely.
So I know that in me receiving and making a space for them, I'm making more space for myself as well. Like, it's like, you got to do this for yourself too. Like, this works both ways.
Yeah. I'm actually working up and writing out. Like, I have to have a very, very difficult conversation with someone coming up soon. I'll go into detail more about it offline, but I am like having to practice and like write out what it is that I need to say to make sure that I say everything that I need to say, right? Because you don't want to get, swept away in a moment without like getting those initial things out. So yeah, it is a very tumultuous process having to go through dealing with yourself. And you brought up a really good point that that your awkwardness comes from you not being able to handle yourself when dealing with other people.
Yeah.
And I think that like as a man, it's difficult.
Yeah.
Because to even have emotions as a man. Because
sad.
It is. It's awful.
It's
right?
a very sad world for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's difficult. Like, it's difficult to have emotions because unless you grow up in a space where your emotions are okayed or accepted and okayed and accepted and tolerated, you will then become a carbon copy of these other people who are robots and hard. And then they blow up out of nowhere, and you're like, what's wrong with this person? They were just fine. And it's like, no, like, they weren't okay to be themselves. They weren't okay to have an adverse reaction to a situation as a youngin. Like, they were told, a lot of boys are told, why are you acting like that? Like, you acting like a girl. Why are you crying? Like, man up. It's like, no, it's a child. They have their emotions are, and their brain is all over the place. They don't know how to react to this thing. And so as a man, you still are sometimes stuck in a prepubescent way because you were not able to emote. Yeah, you were not able to emote. So you can't. So you can't emote as I can't. At my big age. It's hard to start emoting now.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah,
that's really tough. That's really tough, and I think that goes to show just about the barriers that assigned gender roles put on us. Like, you gonna be a man in 20 years, you can't be doing that. And it's like, who says that?
I mean, black women, y'all can't emote either. Like y'all get looked at as y'all say one thing, somebody yell at you, you yell back at them. Oh, they're just an angry black woman. And it's just like, no, like you just yelled at that person. Like, what do
during
you
my
want to do?
during my campaign, like, I was hustling, and these wonderful white ladies that would, yeah, I got you. And then when I would call them, hey, every time I said, because if you say you're gonna give me some money, I'm gonna ask for it until you
Yeah.
give me that money. And I got called aggressive. And I was just like, thank
But
you.
you told me you was gonna do this.
Y'all don't call Rahm Emanuel aggressive. Because Rahm, I heard stories about Rahm. He closed the door, but ain't nobody leaving until we raise $1 million.
Yeah.
So I get it. Yeah. But I think now the beautiful thing about this new space we're in, like, it's dark outside, but it is also light. And we are able to take off those things that just encumber us and that limit us and stifle us. And it's just like none of that matters anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We are assigning new value on how we show up and what's really important. And we bringing that everywhere we go.
Yeah, I have it written on my whiteboard, like you deserve the good things. And that's not just like, okay, I'll buy a pair of shoes or whatever, but that's not the good things, right? The good things are, and I think this also goes with, Christ, like I deserve, because he said so, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't like bad theology at any point, but this is just saying that like he said that I have his grace. So like I deserve the grace, right? I deserve the good things. I deserve happiness. I deserve, the things that I kind of shun away, and we shun away God's grace. We shun away the fact that like Jesus died for us. And it's like I deserve the good things. Like he said I can walk in fellowship with him or walk with him. So like I deserve that now.
Yeah.
Right. And it's me that like puts a blockade up.
Because you've been told that you had to work and do and to be a certain way in order to receive these things, and you were told that it has to be hard.
And it's not.
And it's not.
Like happiness is literally a choice, right? And I think that that's one of the things that comes like choosing that happiness allows me to like take off that armor, and choosing the people that I share my happiness with also allows me to break down that armor as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, it's really hard. Like, in recent years, I had really tough dynamics in my family, and I wasn't getting the support that I needed from them or the affirmation that I needed from them. And in the beginning, it felt I was just trying to be what they wanted me to be, but still trying to be myself. And it couldn't work. But I had other people, my tribe. And so I reference my tribe because it's an extension of my blood family, because they do accept me and give me what I so desire and what I need.
Yeah.
And, my family shows up when they can, you know what I mean? And, but I know that that's not the only place, the only source for me.
So one thing that came up for me is unsolicited love, right?
Ooh.
These people desire, like their only desire is to just like love you. Like they don't need anything from you. They just have genuine unsolicited love for you.
That's
Like
how my partner is, and it blows my mind.
Yeah, and it's like I didn't ask you
I'm like, you don't want nothing from me?
Nothing. You remember Chris, who used to own a salon? Like that was my first experience with like just like unsolicited love, like that I can actually remember, right? Like that was like a dad figure, and I had never experienced somebody that was just like, I'm going to show you, or I'm going to make sure that you experience the world as like my child. And like, this is no shade to my parents or anything. Like, they, you know, they had their place, but like, for me to like get it outside of that, for me to like tangibly be able to see it. And to my mom's credit, she's the one that was just, I found out like prior to him passing, he was just like, yeah, your mama told me to do that. And I was just like, dang, a mother's love like set that up.
Yeah.
But in any event, like, that's the first place that I can go to be like, oh, this is where this goes. And I was able to see it. And, you know, I got people that are in my tribe as well that literally do the same thing, or actually the same thing that you talk about, which is the only phrase for it is unsolicited love. Like, they affirm, they will congratulate, they will pray, they will uphold, they will also call you on your shit, you know? Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm with it.
Yeah, you got not random, but like, you got stuck overseas.
Oh yeah.
What happened?
Um yeah, you know, just being a Black woman doing her own thing in America, and them not believing that you had the means. You know, I was profiled when I was coming back from Aruba. I was in Aruba for 3 months, and I found, and I was talking to this girl, and she lived in the other island.
Mm-hmm.
And she would say whenever she would, try to cross the border, she was always stopped. And I was like, oh, that's unfortunate. But then I understood what happened is they really stop, especially if you're single Black women, they stop you because they think you're a drug mule. And so I had easily 200 pounds of luggage because I had been there for 3 months. And I was already having, like, my anxiety was at an all-time high. Like, I was freaking out even before I got there because I was coming home. I didn't know what I was coming home to. This house I'm in right now, I had an open transaction, and I wasn't sure if it was gonna fall through or come through. It was just so many things that were happening,
Mm-hmm.
and they stopped me, and I just freaked out. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
no, I'm like, the plane is already boarding because they had one person, everybody was behind. They had one person checking passports because in some countries they have customs there because so many Americans come.
Yeah.
So many Americans come to Aruba, so they already had a customs there. So I'm technically on U.S. soil. And I'm this close to getting through so I can get to my gate. And they stopped me, and I just freaked out. And they opened my stuff, and I had bags of I had all these medicines. I had supplements and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Some I got there, some that I got here. I had a doctor's note and everything, but they didn't want to hear it. And
Mm-hmm.
so they searched literally every corner of my luggage, tested my stuff, like even like my face wash that was manufactured in the United States. And this is U.S. Customs. And they was like, you got narcotics. I'm like, narcotics? Like Soldier Boy, like, narcotics? Like, what do you say? And they were saying I had like meth and ecstasy. And they searched, they did a body search, took my picture. And then finally I was able to look at what they found, and they had like my Dr. Bronner stuff. Like, I had it in the original bottle. My face wash was in the original bottle. They wrote like ecstasy on it, like my toothpaste, like all these things. And so I was like, word. So that's when I knew. And so they say, well, you're going to get charged $500. And I was just like, I still didn't know what was going on. So they tried to run my cards. All three of my cards declined, and I had the money. Definitely had the money because I had it. I had been using those cards for 3 months, and I wasn't nowhere near my credit limit on either one of my cards and my debit card. So they gave me this piece of paper and it was like, well, you have 30 days to send us a check of $500 or it's going to increase to $5,000. And I was like, all right. And then the officer was like, do you have anything else to say? And I was like, no. And then as I tell the story to people, that was when I was supposed to be like, well, what do y'all want? But when I was telling my friend the other day, I was like, I probably would have been even more hurt had I actually given them money than went through the process that I went through. So after that, they called the Reuben authorities and passed me on to them. And they looking through it. It looks ridiculous to them, but they have to continue the investigation. And so it tells me I'm going to get, they're going to arrest me and stuff. And I spent 2 nights in jail. And luckily I was able to communicate with my family in time when the U.S., they had taken my cell phone. So I pulled out my iPad and I emailed my family and I said, don't call me. They have my phone on my iPad. And then literally a minute later, one of them comes out the office like, where's your iPad? So they had been looking at my email on my phone. And I'm like, cool. So when I went to the Ruba folks, they asked for my computer. No. I took my computer out. And then I kept emailing and responding like, hey, y'all, I think I'm just this is just a grave inconvenience, but I can get a hotel room next door because there's a Hyatt next door at the airport. And I was like, I told my sister, like, can you call Southwest and see if I can get on the next flight tomorrow morning? And they was like, no, we're going to arrest you. So that was the darkest night of my life. That was I had never, and I tell people like, when you get in situations like that, you disassociate. I disassociate so much. I was watching everything from here. Like this was when I think about being in my cell, this is the view that I have of it. Like just me hovering above myself. But yeah, it was Holy Week. And, I said, I'm going to get out on Friday. It's going to be a good Friday. And I got out on a Friday and I came home. And it was.
Did they give you your stuff back?
Yeah, I got my stuff back. I got all my stuff back.
Did you still have to pay them?
Huh?
Did you still have to pay them?
No, because in the process, I had my United States Senator, his office was calling Customs in DC and asking about Nicole. And so when I had walked back through Customs, they were singing a whole different song. So they was like, who is this Black lady having people from Washington, D.C. calling about her?
Who's that, Bobby Rush? Or
no, Durbin.
Okay.
They, because I was supposed to have a meeting with his chief of staff.
Oh, okay.
And I had emailed her right before they took my computer. I was like, and I copied my mom and I was like, I just told her, I'm like, hey, I couldn't even finish the sentence. And because they was taking my stuff from me. And yeah, it was wild, G.
Like that story is crazy. Like yeah. And I saw you right when that's when we had ice cream when you had got back.
No, we had ice cream in the summer.
Okay.
You called me the day I closed on my house.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we had ice cream in like August, September.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You are right. That is wild. Are you going back overseas anytime soon?
Well, yeah, I mean, my girl took me to Bogota for my birthday.
Yeah.
So I've already been, and I was stopped there too. So that was re-triggering. So I'm actually in the process of
You'll get global entry?
Well, no, I need to clear my passport first. So I'm on a list now. I'm on a list. I'm on the drug trafficking list. And every time I come back into the country, I'm going to be stopped. And so luckily I was stopped in Atlanta, and it was a Black dude who was like doing the inspection. And so he could tell I was telling the truth and everything. I was like, here's my website, like the website for my job, and I was telling him about who I was and stuff. And they let me go, but that won't always be the case, that people will let me go. And it was funny because like my passport wouldn't scan in Bogota either. So, but they still let me go. So that could happen again. I could be solo somewhere else. So I'm just going to, I'm in the process of working with them. My senator is making a congressional inquiry on it, so that I can see what's going on, so I can get off this list.
Sheesh.
So I'm really hoping that can get like figured out, because I want to go somewhere in like February. So, but I am my girlfriends. I'm kind of nervous about traveling alone, even though I like to travel alone.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. How can people find you? Like, do you want people to find you?
What you mean, on social?
Yeah, if they want to.
Yeah, they can find me on Lotus Hale Hill, LOTUS Hale HALEHILL. That's on Instagram. And my Twitter is Nicole J Shy, NICOLEJCHI.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yeah, you are amongst the people. And this has been another episode of Jesus in Gym Shoes, where we have unparalleled conversations about life skills in Jesus. Like, comment, and subscribe. We now have the YouTube page. So I look forward to hearing y'all feedback from this story. Again, this is another episode of Jesus in Gym Shoes. Thanks, Nicole. I appreciate you. I do appreciate you.
Yes, sir. It's been good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Boy, this is Jesus in Gym Shoes.